Hello everyone, let's wait a little bit until everyone joins us and then we'll start. Okay, let's start. Hello everyone, welcome to today's session. And as you can see, and as I mentioned last time, today we will have theory only session, and there won't be any coding today, because today we'll talk about project management, about Scrum methodology, and we'll go through some theory about how IT project can be managed. Maybe we will finish a little bit early today. Let's see how it goes for us during this topic. And after that, I will say a few words about next 2 weeks. There will be the project work. Yeah, but I will explain at the end of the session what we'll be doing next week and the week after next. But first of all, let's start with the project management, with the Scrum presentation. So here it is, and let's start. So today we'll start talking about project management. Basically the way how we can manage IT project. So let's this is what basically how the development goes under IT IT tasks, IT problems, how these problems are organized, and how we usually solve them. And of course, the people who are involved in this in the solutions, what do they do, and what are the roles of them. Okay, so first of all, just to understand what the IT project is. As it stands from the definition, IT project can be any type of project that deals with IT infrastructure, information systems, or computer methodology. So this can include software development activities, some programming, mobile app, or large-scale software system. This is basically how it is by definition. In fact, this is true. The idea is that we need to develop some things. Go to the next slide, and here we can see. So first of all, what we have a customer. And the customer is the main person, and we as IT people who create the solutions, we want to satisfy customer. First of all, there's the customer, I write the person here, but mostly we don't work with the persons, especially in large or middle-sized IT companies, or even small size companies, even freelancers, all of them mostly we work with companies. So it's quite a rare situation where And when the just single persons or just maybe a group of persons request the IT solution, mostly that's the companies. Just for example, imagine any company in Latvia or in any other country. It doesn't matter, we have the company, then the company, for example, needs the website or the application, then the company tries to find IT people. It can be the IT company like Accenture or just any IT company you can imagine. It can be a group of people. It doesn't really matter what kind of structure is it, but the idea is that there should be IT people. And we'll talk about what IT people do next. But this is another another place in this structure. So IT people, these are the people who are responsible to build the product requested by customer. And at the end, as you can see here, the IT people build the product. IT people can also be the part of the company, part of the customer. So in large companies, it's absolutely fine when there are some IT departments, and just even if the company is not directly related to IT work, for example, it can be just basically what I'm currently working in the projects. Food packing company also has the IT department who work on IT solutions. Also, there's the support team who also supports the IT solutions. Previously working with leasing company, fleet management leasing company. Also the company which is not actually the IT company, but there are the departments who work on IT solutions. So in this case, IT people can also be the part of the company, and they can also be external persons. If there's a company, not IT company, then sometimes IT people from other companies are needed to support or to basically to be the main, the key persons in the development. So it can be different. But the IT people, again, as I just said, can be just IT people. It is not mentioned from where these people are. And at the end we have the product which is requested by customer. Then IT people produce this product. And just maybe before we continue, so since you can see from this structure, we have the customer. Of course, customers are the ones who pay for the project. So as you can understand, since we're talking about the money payment about the project, then the first, maybe not the main, but usually the first at least one of the most priorities is such thing like money. Because since this is the business, we usually take care of money. And of course, for each customer, the main idea is to, just as for every business, you need to spend less and get more. So this is a normal business idea. So for customers, you need to spend less and get more. For IT people, of course, that goes in the opposite way. To get as much money as they can during the IT development. So in this case, we talk about the optimizing of this project, because of course, if the project is not organized well, and there may be some issues on this linkage. on this linkage. Of course, inside the customer department, inside the IT people department, there can be different issues, and these issues make the project. It can make the project more expensive. It can also make, of course, the time. Yeah, but yeah, if I say the money, you know that the time is also just a part of money. If we spend less time, we gain more money. We spend less money, it means that we gain more money. The same is here, can be applied. So the time is also the part of IT project. Yeah. And again, as I just said, if the project management is not organized well, then the customer needs to spend more money, more time. Means more money, this is not. And of course, at the end, it can also be such situation that the project is not even built at the end because of the problems in the requirements. Yeah, we'll see what kind of problems there may be, but the project needs to be organized well to escape all these problems. And the next slide is about potential problems that can be occurred during the work of the project, and not basically the problems, but the things that can trigger the problems. And so here you can see that the points which do not work on a well-organized project. So the first one is just write them. That's written this way. Just write them code. That's also true. There is no such projects where you just only need to write code. Yeah, even if there's a small project, that's not how usually project management works. Yeah, it's not like just you come, you write the code, you've written your code, and you can go home and finish your work and go home. This is not how it works. This is not a good approach, and nowadays this approach is practically unreal. And that's impossible to, especially if we talk about huge IT projects. That's absolutely impossible to just do the coding and nothing else to produce the solution, the product for the customer. And also such things like I don't plan, I just code and fix. I call it cowboy coding, hacking. That is also not how it works. Without the planning, it is not possible to organize IT project nowadays. So this model starts with an informal general product idea, and just develops code until product is ready. Yeah, this is not how we should proceed. And works for solo projects. Also not how it usually happens. This is how it works in solo project, but does not work on non-trivial collaborative software development projects. And the problem of the organizing, this is maybe the main, I would say, habit of some customers, of some not only customers, but for the people who organize the project, that they usually, but this is just a standard standard approach. What you may think about is that if we want to finish the project faster, if we need to spend less time, then the best solution is just to add more people to the project. This is in fact this is a huge mistake. I had such experience in my lifetime in the project where there were like 300 people and like 50 maybe 50 of them worked on the same system, on the same code. Basically the system is huge. There are a lot of parts, but these parts are connected with each other, and you can imagine that approximately 50 people work on the same system, on the same parts of codes, and then imagine that one part of code is changed by one people, another part of code is changed by another people, and at the end it is not synchronized. One developer breaks the solution for another developer, and at the end nothing works. So yeah, this is also not how we should proceed. How not only we, but in our IT work. Then adding manpower does not help the project to be finished faster. In fact, it only makes it later, as it said here. And so yeah, just maybe in general what the project management is. Basically, this is actually what solves the problems I've previously mentioned. And yeah, it is the application of process, methods, skills, knowledge, and experience to achieve specific objectives according to the criteria given by customer. Also the parameters agreed with the customers. Yeah, and at the end there's final deliverables that are constrained to finite time scale and budget. Yeah, so maybe before we start, since I talked about money, then yeah, we have two main things here: time scale and budget. If you work in IT projects, then budget is usually used term, because especially if some external developers are taking the same project, Accenture or again any other IT company, then the budget is given on the solution, and we cannot go out of this budget, or if we are out of the budget, then we need to request for additional budget to continue to work, because the budgets nowadays in our life work in the way that people pay not for work but for hours spent. Usually everything is based on the hours spent, so it means that more hours allowed, more money, more time can be spent on the project. And yeah, today we will go deep into one methodology, Agile. But before we start talking about Agile, Scrum, yeah, let's talk about Scrum. Let's shortly take a look on the methodologies used for historically, and nowadays also used for IT projects. And as we can see, almost everything starts in 1970, and then we go to next methodologies, and we can see that most of the methodologies are produced after 1998. That's because again IT work became so widespread at the beginning of the century, and of course new methodologies came with some new advantages discovered and so on. But so we have such methodologies like waterfall, V model, Spiral model, RAD, Agile, and so on. Then we'll talk about Scrum, but before we move to Scrum, maybe a small explanation how basically did it start. Well, it started at 1917. And the first methodology, basically what the methodology is, this is the structure of how the project management is organized. How do we proceed with the project? And the first structure is called waterfall. That's because we go from, as you can see from the picture, from top to bottom. And here you can see five steps. And everything starts with the requirements. So we have the requirements by customer. It can be document, also can be discussed. In normal way that should be the document. It cannot just be please do that, please do this, please do that. That is not how it usually should be done. Usually everything, in ideal project, everything should be documented, also signed as well, if it's a serious project. But maybe a small remark. So today we talk about project management, and the main things are related to so-called ideal project management. In real life, some important, important things may be skipped or missed. And for example, this can be the documentation, as I just mentioned. I would say maybe more often than sometimes. Such thing like documentation is missed, and as I just said, normally in ideal project, in ideal life, everything must be documented, and that's a good approach, because again, the solution is not only for a few days, few months, but usually the solutions are for 5, maybe 10 years as well. And the solutions usually can be changed time by time and adjusted. Of course, it's a really rare situation where there is the requirement from the customer, please create the solution, then IT people create the solution, and so the solution works, nothing changes for like 5 or 10 years. That's practically impossible. Usually the solutions must be adjusted, must be improved, must be changed. So it means that of course it's not so safe to hope that one team of developers will work on this project until the end of this product. Usually there are new people who come, who work, and so the main question is, how do these people can understand can they understand the code, how can they understand the processes? Because again, if we work on the IT project, then we mostly work on the processes. Like if that's the website, you have the products, of course, and maybe that can be a simple example. If you just have the products, you need to select. First, you need to select the product. You need to pay for it, and then you will buy it, and it will be shipped to you. Of course, some minor things can also be included there. maybe some specifications which maybe are not obvious, but they are a main part of the solution, and by default it cannot be recognized by new people who continue who start working on the solution, on the development. And that's why, so once new people come to the project, not only to the project but to the solution improvement, to the product, they need to improve this product or change it, then they need to find the information about what has previously been done, and how does it work. Because, for example, in your experience right now, you wrote the code, and of course I do understand what you meant, but if you have just like tens or hundreds of classes, hundreds of codes, then these classes are linked with each other in some way. Of course, it cannot be so obvious for new people who just see your code for the first time to understand basically why did you create all these classes, and how can these classes be reused. That's why the documentation is needed. So you make changes, you build your project, you need to document the changes, so new people who will work on your code will understand what they can touch, what they cannot touch, because sometimes there are the files, the classes, the code which cannot be really touched, as if it may be very sensitive code, it may be very important code, and then of course if you have production system, you need to adjust some key things. Then of course it can be not just, it's not a disaster, but very painful thing if you break something on the key things. That's why there is the code which you should not normally change. There can be such code, of course, which should not normally be changed, and also maybe I will search one thing. I should try to show you one thing. Yeah, it can be something like this. So this can be legacy code. So in fact, you may see something like this, which is basically is, as you can see, is not needed. But it can be such situation that we don't know what this code does, but the application crashes if you remove it. That's why, actually, for example, in this case, this code needs to be documented so you can understand why these stairs are built here. So the same is about the code. So that's why it is needed to document the code, of course, to not have such situations. And this is why it is said about documents. The same is about the requirements. So if there are the requirements from customers, then also the requirements need to be documented, so you can understand what was actually the problem, what had to be developed. So yeah, and let's go back to the methodology itself. So first of all, the requirements come. Then the next step is, so we have the requirements. The next step is that we need to design what can we do to actually build the solution. And yeah, this is called design. So we design what will we do. Yeah, like if we have the code, then we just write all the steps we will do, how we will do, and also all the steps to be verified with for example, solution architect or the technical lead, basically with the person who is responsible for the development. And yeah, this is called design stage. Then after that, there's the implementation. So everything is designed. We have all the things planned. So now we have the plan, and we can stick to this plan and basically implement the solution. So once the solution is implemented, of course, as I said, it normally should be documented. And after it is documented, then there's the verification. So we verify if everything is correct. So if everything is correct, the solution works as expected, the customer is satisfied, then we maintain the solution built. Yeah, the problem in this methodology is that it is not defined how should we proceed if there are some changes of the requirements. So because it's a very usual thing that we have the requirements, then we start implementing some. Basically, even we finished the implementation, then there comes the verification phase, and customer accidentally understands that some things were missed in the requirement, and that's why all these things must be repeated. Yeah, so this was the disadvantage of this methodology. Yeah, basically if we have some changes, some repeating steps, then the waterfall is maybe not the best option. But basically everything, not everything, but as I understand, almost all the methodologies are based on the waterfall, and so these steps exist in all the methodologies, but they are structured in a little bit different ways, and they will touch one of such methodology. It's called Scrum. Yeah, so basically the motivation was that the relay race approach to product development may conflict with the goals of maximum speed and flexibility. So, and instead of so-called holistic or rugby, yeah, Scrum basically, that's the term which comes from rugby approach, where the team tries to get distance as a unit, passing the ball back, and for maybe may better serve the competitive requirements. So yeah, this is what was the motivation, and basically, yeah, what the Scrum is in 100 words, for 4 points here. And yeah, first, this is Agile process that allows us to focus on delivering the highest business value in the shortest time. So the idea is that this is basically the structure which optimizes the project management. And yeah, what are the advantages? It allows us to rapidly and repeatedly inspect the actual working software. like every week to 1 month, and this is what I mentioned about the disadvantage of simple waterfall methodology, that we can have some loops right here, like every 2 weeks, 1 month. So some things may be repeated, must be repeated. Also, since not only if something changes, but some things, it is better to manage some things repeatedly as a normal thing, like not only if there are some issues, but if we just simply need to move on with the process. So sometimes it's better to just go on loop, to do some things on loop, like start, finish, test, and then repeat until the project is finished. We'll see what do I mean right now, but yeah, so that's the key, that we have the loops here. And for this methodology, it is cycles loop. For this methodology, it is really important. And yeah, also the thing is that business sets the priorities. Teams self-organize to determine the best way to deliver the highest priority features. Yeah, also as we can see from here, we have the business, which is the customer. Also the priorities are set, so some things to be more important than other things. And yeah, also there are the teams. Yeah, we'll see a little bit later, but this is also the key word, that we have the teams. So it's not only, like as I just said, IT people as the whole department as one single unit, and there are different teams. And so the last thing is that every 2 weeks to a month, anyone can see real working software and decide to realize it as is, or continue to enhance it for another sprint. Yeah, we'll see what sprints are. But yeah, so here we can see that in the second point and in the fourth point, as I mentioned, the key thing is that we have the cycle, the loop, so the things which are repeated time by time. So this is what the Scrum is about mostly, and basically about the origins. The origins are such basically such companies like you can see Microsoft, for example, started this approach, this methodology, started using this approach, this methodology on their projects. And okay, maybe so. Yeah, here there's the list of the companies where this the project of under which companies the Scrum has been used. This methodology has been used. You can see so many popular companies: Microsoft, Yahoo, Google, Electronic Arts, IBM. All these companies are quite famous. They all used Scrum methodology. And yeah, as an example, we have IT project, but as I said, IT solutions can be used in almost all the businesses. Yeah, it is hard to easily understand, to easily imagine the business which does not need the IT solutions nowadays. And almost all the solutions, almost all the businesses, especially, okay, maybe not only talking about our COVID times, but also especially what will be out, especially what is during the COVID and what will be after COVID. Of course, we understand that IT solutions are very important, and It's actually not possible to escape using them. Yeah, and here you can see the arrays, but in fact we can see that almost all the arrays can be, almost all the directions can be used here. But yeah, as an example, you can see commercial software, in-house development, financial applications, and so on. So it's, as I can see, in fact, almost every business can be put here where it can be used. Of course, it has been used. These are main directions of the businesses where this is used. And again, any direction can be used. And yeah, so characteristics of Scrum. As I mentioned, they're so-called self-organized teams. So the work is split in teams, and of course each team organizes the project, the work which was inside the team. There's the team lead, maybe even many team leads who are responsible for the work of the corresponding team. And yeah, also we have, as I said, such loops, such cycles, also called sprints. So we can have multiple sprints, and usually the sprint is the period, which can be 1 4 week. Usually it is from 1 to 4 weeks. Yeah, so the progress can be split in sprints. We start with sprint 1. After that there can be sprint 2, sprint 3, and so on. So everything, the work is split in sprints. For each sprint, there are different goals, different requirements. But we have multiple sprints. Then the requirements are captured as items in a list of product backlogs. So what do we have? We have the requirements, and each requirement is the task. Maybe a huge task, maybe a small task, but as it stands here, all of them are captured in product backlog. So this is basically the place where all the items, all the requirements are stored. Then of course different people, different teams work on different items. Then they report the progress of the items to again, it stands on it depends on the hierarchy of the team, but usually they report to the team lead, and basically to the reporter, the person who is responsible for the corresponding item. And yeah, it is also mentioned that no specific engineering practices prescribed. It uses generative rules to create an agile environment for delivering project. And this Scrum is one of the agile processes. And the main thing for agile is the so-called agile manifesto, where everything comes from. And what do we have here? We have such four statements. And the first statement is that individuals and interactions are more important than process and tools. And so this is also important, of course, since most of the people work, and then of course need to be clear that these people can work, but they cannot really say they are satisfied, but basically they are fine to work with the tasks given to them, and also how these people work with each other. Of course, it's really important. And then we have the next one, working software over comprehensive documentation. So yeah, as I said before, documentation is needed, but of course the product is more important if we have this software. So it's the first priority. You don't need to just simply spend all your time for documentation and just think only about it. I said the documentation is needed to leave it to the next, let's call next generations. But yeah, of course, the priority is that the software actually works. Yeah, then we have customer collaboration over so-called contract negotiation. And it's also, as I said before, it's really important to have the customers who actually can work. Normally work with IT people. Yeah, but sometimes, as I mentioned at this point, when we have this structure, there can be the issue even at this point where, or even inside the customer department, inside this structure, because sometimes there are the problems for the customers to actually get clear with the solution they want to have, and this is quite usual problem that actually customers say that they want to have something, and of course they don't mention some details sometimes. Basically, how do they want to this thing to work? Some details, what they need, and so on. So some details sometimes can be missed, and maybe in the worst case, there can be such situations that the customers can't really explain what do they actually want, and maybe in even worst case, it's possible that they just don't reply to you. So I also faced such things sometimes that customer asks you to do something, not only customers, but just any people. It can be team lead or the customer, again, it doesn't matter, but someone requested you to build some solution, IT solution. Then so if I had some questions to make the requirement more precise, to clarify some things, but these people just did not answer to the emails, and at the end, this may trigger the problem in the time. So of course, budget. That's why also collaborations with the customer can be really important. And yeah, of course, as I said, we can have the plan, the design, how to work on the solution. But of course, it stands from Agile procedure that responding to change is more important than just directly following the plan. So also, as I said, there can be some adjustments in the requirements, raised during the requirements for adjustments raised during the development process, because let's go back to waterfall. We have so we start implementing, and then during the implementation process we actually find some new things which which must be changed on the design process. So it's also a quite usual thing that the development started, so implementation developers start implement things, but after that they notice some very important things that require to in worst case even more need to change the requirements, because maybe there are some things which cannot be done, for example, and you'll find it only during the implementation process. So it's also possible, and then some things must be adjusted in the at this point. And of course it stands in Agile process that the Agile process allows you to not allows, but to first of all you need to respond to change, then just simply following the plan. And so that's what the Agile stands for. Okay, right now let's we have a break, 10 minutes break, and after the break we'll continue next presentation. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, so how it's called project noise level, but yeah, how does it, how basically the so-called project noise level looks on the graph. So yeah, what do we have on the x-axis? We have so-called technology, and then we have the requirements on so-called y-axis. And yeah, basically what we want to achieve. Of course, if we work on IT, then so-called think like KISS, or keep it simple stupid, can be and should normally be applied here, because again, as I said, despite the fact that of course you can be very great developer, you can know almost everything, but the main thing is to not make it complicated. Yeah, and that's why on the technology axis we need to be on the left side, so it means close to certainty. It's of course, if you are far from certainty, that make your solution quite complicated, and this is not so good, obviously. Then, of course, as I said, the idea is that we make it as simple as we can. And on the other side, if we have the requirements, so basically everything what we develop, we do it based on the requirements, and the requirements should also be quite clear, and also need to be agreed with the IT team. And then in the ideal side in the ideal case you make it simple, you make the solution simple, clear, and you'll have the best possible result. In case something goes to more complicated things, if it's technology or requirements, then we get more complicated solution, and if you are far uncertainty and far from agreement, then it goes to anarchy at the end. Of course, this is not how it normally should be. And then let's move to the main thing, to so-called to Scrum methodology. How does it look like? So first of all, what do we have? We have product backlog. This is basically the, as I said, the items of the which represent the requirements we have to be done by customers. And, as an example, it can be coupons, gift cards, basically everything. All the requirements right here. So based on this so-called product backlog, item backlog, we defined. So we have multiple sprints. We start with the sprint, and we define what do we want to achieve during the sprint, and then we collect the items from the backlog which belong to this particular sprint, which should belong, and then we start the sprint. We actually plan, and we start our sprint with the items. That's not all the items from the backlog are here at each sprint, but we split them, and at each sprint we work with the items that belong to this corresponding sprint defined during the planning. So then we have the sprint. And here it's set every 24 hours. There's so-called update, and there we process with the updates every time, every day, and also some things can be adjusted here. At the end, the sprint is finished, and if there's something which can be potentially shippable, then we pack it, and then we reduce it to next steps. And so putting all together, we have simple product backlog. Then we select the products for the next sprint. We start the sprint, and we have a sprint. And every day we have so-called daily Scrum meeting. This is basically the place, the meeting where it can be done just in teams. It can also be done with multiple teams, but mostly it is done inside one team. So the team comes together every day and discusses the problems. Basically, usually it goes ticket by ticket. So we have tickets, tickets or items from backlog. We sometimes call them tickets. Basically these are the items. So usually, as I said, items are assigned to different people, and then there are two options usually. First option is that we go just item by item. So we have all the items in the sprint backlog, and then we just basically go one by one and discuss the progress on each item. So as I said, each item is usually assigned to different people. Each item is assigned to one person. And then we just go item by item, then ask the person who is assigned to this particular item. So what is the progress of this item? This is one option, and another option is that we go just one by one. I mean, one by one, person by person, and then we ask each person for the update. What is the update on the tickets this person is assigned to? So this is done usually every day. Daily Scrum meeting. It can be different in different projects. It can be maybe twice a week or 3 times a week, for example, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday as an option. It depends. So it is called daily Scrum, but it is not always daily Scrum. It may be different. And at the end of the sprint, we have a shippable product. We can have a shippable product. Sometimes maybe the product can be so large that it is not possible to done it in one sprint. So it can be maybe done after 5 sprints or something like that. So it is not mandatory that the product will be shipped after each sprint. So sometimes there can be multiple sprints needed to create one product. That's also a normal case. And then basically, what are the sprints? As I said, projects make progress in a series of sprints. We have multiple sprints. So it's similar to extreme programming iterations. So I just said that we have a loop, and then we just go sprint by sprint. Usually, typical durations 4 to 4 weeks. Again, it can be different. It can be a month, but also it depends on the project. In different project, this duration can be different. And there's also constant duration leads to a better rhythm as well. Product is designed for testing during this sprint. Also, it's what I said. And then we have 2 different types of development. And basically we have sequential versus overlapping development. As we can see, what I said, we have requirements design, code, and test. Usually that is usual case. And rather than doing all of one thing at a time, Scrum teams do a little of everything all the time. So basically, this is what is called the split of the work. So we split the tickets, we split the items of the backlog, as I said, team by team, person by person, to make the result, make better result, make faster result, basically to not just push all the put all the work on one person. The development can be split, and also, as I said, we have items in backlog. It is not a usual case where just all the items. We have one item which is meant for a huge development. It is usually we have a huge development split it in for one particular target. It is usually split it in multiple items. So it's a usual case. We have a small items for multiple small items for one solution. That's also possible. And one thing which is requested in the Scrum methodology is that no changes on the requirements to be done during the sprint. So since the sprint is planned, we should not make these changes inside the sprint during the sprint, but only outside the sprint. Before the sprint, we can change them, but not during the sprint. And then just how this Scrum framework works in general. So we have different roles. So there's the product owner, Scrum Master, and the team. These are the different roles of this framework. And so ceremonies, the actions what are done. Then we have first of all Scrum sprint planning, and sprint review, retrospective, daily Scrum meeting. And what else we have? Product backlog to proceed with the work. Then sprint backlog, the backlog which belongs to sprint, and then burn down charts as well. So we'll talk in more details about them. So let's start with the roles. And the first role is product owner. So this is basically it defines the features of the product, and this product owner, what does he or she do, and defines the features of the product, and defines what is the requirements to be done, then decide on the release date and content. So due date must be defined, and also what's the content of the product to be. And this is the person who was responsible for the profitability of the product. Also, product owner prioritizes the features according to the market value. Also, it's quite important, and of course adjust the features and priority every iteration as needed. So we have multiple sprints, and some features may be adjusted after each sprint. And then at the end, the product owner accepts or rejects the work results. Then we also have Scrum Master, and this is the person who represents management to the project. The Scrum, the main organization is done by Scrum Master. Also, this person is responsible for enacting Scrum values and practices. Also removes impediments, ensures that the team is fully functional and productive. So basically everything what is related to the Scrum, to the process, how does it work, if everything is fine, if the team works well here, if there's nice productivity. So this is basically the person who is responsible to make all these things to work well. And also shield the team from external interferences. It is possible that some people outside this system, outside this project can ask to do some things, cannot be satisfied with some things, and then of course this Scrum Master must deal with such interferences. And then of course we have the team. This is as it says here, usually typically 5 to 9 people. As I said, it can be different in different projects. But So these are the people who are basically who are responsible to develop the solution for the project. So these are the people who work on the so-called, as I said, backlog items. And then we have cross-functional people who are programmers, testers, user experience designers, and so on. So, and here you can see, maybe you have not noticed it previously, but in IT development, not only technical people, not only programmers are needed, but also the people who, it is also possible that these people do not write the code. Yeah, so if you don't write the code, you can also be part of IT project, part of IT team, because some roles do not require you to actually build the solution, write the code or just do some technical things. Also, if you can be the tester, as it stands here. You can be the person who just let's say translates the requirements to the developers. So it's also very very hard job, I would say. Sometimes, especially for the developers, some things from the which come from the requirements may be not so clear, and there are such people who translate all these things to the developers, so it is clear for them, so the developers can understand what is requested, and they can proceed with the development. But there are so many roles, and not all the roles, and I would say most of the roles do not require maybe not most of the roles, that won't be correct. Again, it depends on different projects, but it may be some projects where most of the roles are not technical. But it depends. And it is said that members should be full-time. That's also true, since we talk about the sprints. Even if there is no work to do, all the members should normally be full-time occupied in these projects, because again, if we talk about the sprints, then it is possible that some things, especially if we develop some things, that then we as the developers may be required to deal with some unexpected issues, especially if we talk about the programming. So we can have some issues in the code, some issues in the solution, and that's why we should always be ready to solve these issues. And that's why, even if we don't, that's what I face from my experience, if we don't have anything to do at the moment, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that we won't have such things to do after an hour or 2 hours. So all the members should always be ready to work. So that's why it is said that members should be full-time. And maybe there can be some exceptions if there is such exact work which do not require you to be on place full-time. But mostly full-time members must be full-time. Then Next one is that the teams are self-organized. So ideally there should be no titles, but yeah, rel is possible. Then there should be team lead as an option. Yeah, it can be. Yeah, but the idea is that the team must be organized, so everyone can know what he or she is responsible to do in the team. Of course, it depends on the skills, it depends on the experience as well. But yeah, the team must be self-organized. Yeah, and membership should change only between sprints. Yeah, that's also another thing, that the team should not be changed during the sprint. Okay, so this is about the roles, and then we go to the next part, to the part of the actions. And yeah, so first of all we start with sprint planning, the first step. And yeah, what do we have as the resources? We have team capacity, so this is the resource we have. Then we have product backlog, which is not the resource but the tasks we are supposed to do. Business conditions, which also are related to the product backlog, what must be produced. Yeah, also the conditions, maybe there's some restrictions, some additional requirements from the business. Then yeah, what I haven't mentioned a little bit before, that at each sprint we produce the products, or after several sprints we produce the products, but the idea is that the product is produced, but after the next sprints we can the product can be changed, and this may be the tasks for task included in the sprint backlog, that we must adjust the product, must build some new things on it. And so at first we can have the product to work on it. So this current product also need to take care of it during the plan of the sprint. And yeah, of course the technology what we work on. And yeah, so we have prioritization, we analyze and evaluate product backlog. We need to understand the requirements there, the things to be done. Then we select the goal, what we want to achieve, because again, as I said, the sprints are limited in the time limit. That's why not everything can be done. So we define the goal, what we want to achieve during this sprint, and yeah, we work on it. Yeah, and then during the planning process, we decide how to achieve our goal, how can we use the resources we have, how can we proceed with the restrictions, how can we work under the restrictions we have, using the technology we have, because usually it is not possible to use all the technologies. Yeah, sometimes the usage of the technologies is limited, especially if we work with some maybe packages or frameworks. Sometimes there can be the limitations and restrictions on the licenses. So some licenses do not allow for example, the program, the logic to be changed, for example, or the logic to be reused, or sometimes the logic to be used in the places where it is not allowed, and something like that. So the technologies are normally limited. And not only about this, as I said, software can be different. So since we work on the software, some software maybe maybe not for free, so we need to pay for the software, and of course sometimes the customer do not want to pay for this software, and that's why the software is not available for us. That's why we work with the technologies that we have. That's also important to understand. So and after that we create sprint backlog. So we define what are the tasks we can do during the corresponding sprint, and we estimate this backlog in hours. So the due dates and so on, and also the sequence, because some items are linked with each other. For example, there's such things like if we have one item, then we must finish this item before we move to the next item. So some dependencies can be here in between the items. That should also be to be checked during the sprint planning. And at the end, after the sprint is planned, we have sprint goal, and we have the sprint backlog on which we are supposed to work. Maybe in more details what the sprint planning is. In general, the team selects items from the product backlog they can commit to completing. And so as I said, not all the items are taken during the sprint, but the backlog of items is decided. So which items to choose, this decision is made by the team. So and then this backlog is created, tasks are identified, and each is estimated. It is set 1 to 16 hours. Again, it depends on the task. Some tasks may be more complicated, but as I said previously, the tasks should be split in small pieces, and that's why it is said here that the estimation is usually from 1 to 16 hours. So it means that less than 1 day or 2 days maximum. So it is created collaboratively and done along by the Scrum Master, so all the team is involved. And also sometimes there is such term like not only from the backlog but from the organizational point of view, that the team just grabs so it is said, just grab the tickets for yourself and tickets the items to work on them. It is maybe not the best practice usually, because the work should be split in the best way. So for example, one member of the team works on one exact part of the solution, then another person works on a different part. So just to not interfere that some pieces of one exact solutions are done by different people. This also should be organized well. To not make anarchy in the development. And so how also during the planning, how our design is considered. So for example, we have the requirement as a vacation planner. I want to see photos of the hotels, for example. And then what do we have? We have the items. On the backlog, the first item is and that we need to create the code, which is called middle tire. Then the next one is called the user interface, and code which writes test pictures. Then the code full class, update performance tests. So basically we have one requirement, but this the solution for this requirement is split in 5 different items which are placed in the backlog. And we may have multiple such requirements during inside one backlog. And normally, it depends on the time estimated. So sometimes, for example, this can be split between five developers. Also, it depends if there are other tasks and the structures. But again, it depends how it is organized. Sometimes it can be done by one person, and then other persons work on other requirements. But again, it can also be done that in the way that 5 different persons work on the same solution. It depends how the team is organized. It depends how do they understand each other, how do they understand what they need to do. So it depends. Sometimes it's easier to do all these things by one person. Sometimes it's fine if the tasks are split between several people, several persons. And here we come to such thing like daily Scrum, which can not always be always not daily Scrum. It can also be not daily Scrum, but twice a week or 3 times a week. But as normal, it should be daily. So it means that team comes to the meeting every day. It's like 15 minutes meeting, and it's a whole stand-up. So people discuss what have they done yesterday, for example, or today. The Scrum is at the end of the day, so they discuss all the things what are done, so they just discuss not every, but not all, not mandatory that should be every task, but maybe the group of tasks, and it depends. But basically they discuss what is done, and what daily Scrum does not. What we do not discuss during daily Scrum, whole world is invited. Only team members, Scrum Master, product owner can talk. This is what usually how it happens, and how it usually happens, and why is it needed to avoid other unnecessary meetings. On practice, that's it can be different. Sometimes additional meetings are required, but the ideal situation is that we do not need more meetings here. That's how it is. And what do we do? What we usually do during the Scrum? That's maybe if the Scrum is at the beginning of the day, then we usually talk what did I do. Yes, I say what did I do yesterday. Then what will I do today? And so if there are any issues, any blockers, it also can be discussed during the Scrum. Yeah, so since we have the whole team here, it means that we can ask every team member any question, and so it means that we ask the questions, and also other team members heard it and can also give some advice or take it, note it as the thing to be aware of, and so on. And so these are not status for the Scrum Master, so they are commitments in front of peers. This is also how it is. And then we have the review of the sprint at the end. So we try to understand what are the problems to not allow in upcoming sprints. And what also is done. Team usually presents what it accomplished during the sprint. Typically it takes the form of demo of new features or underlying architecture. So that's also the meeting where all the progress basically is shown. And so informal point can be that to our preparation time rule, no slides, so just this discussion or just the showing of the solution. It can also it can be done during the sprint review, and that's mandatory that the whole team participates, so everyone can be involved. Everyone can say some things. And invite the world. Also as it stands for him. And then also there's such things like retrospective. Periodically take a look on. It means that we take a look at what is and is not working. Typically it takes 15-30 minutes. After every sprint, we discuss some things to be improved, to be adjusted, to be changed. And again, whole team participates. So again, everyone can be involved here and to discuss all the queries, all the issues here. And so what we have: start, stop, and continue. This is basically what the sprint is about. All team gathers and discusses what they like to do. So we start doing, and we stop doing. Then we continue doing. And this is just one of many ways to do a sprint retrospective. And then we go to the last topic. This is artifacts of the Scrum framework. So here we have the product backlog. So what basically, as I mentioned it several times, but what is it? This is basically the log and the place where all the requirements are gathered and are located. Can be the list of the requirements, split it in small pieces, and so this is basically what we need to implement. It's also a list of all desired work on the project. So the general product backlog, which is not sprint backlog, but the general product backlog, this is the log which contains all the things to be done, and ideally it is expressed such that each item has value to the user or customers of the product. Yeah. So it is prioritized by product owner. We can have more important requirements to be done, then we can have less important requirements. That's also normal scope. Everything can be different here, and the priority can be different. Some of the tasks may be urgent tasks, some can be with low priority. It depends, and also of course based on the priority, the sprint, the backlog for each sprint is defined. Maybe more important tasks are done during the first sprints, and then at the end we have maybe less important tasks in the last sprint, in the last backlog. And yeah, then also it can be reprioritized at the start of each sprint. Also, so we have the priority of the main backlog, but then when we split it in the backlog of the sprints, then the priority inside the sprint can also be different. So it also depends on how do we proceed with the items during each sprint. And yeah, so we have sample product backlog. For example, this is the title of the backlog. Allow a guest to make a reservation. And this is the requirement. We need to allow a guest to make a reservation. Program code to be written or something like that. Then we have the estimate. Can be 3 hours. Maybe we use hours here. Also, yeah, when we start working on the ticket, then there's the due date on the corresponding ticket. And yeah, we have next item. As a guest, I want to cancel our reservation. Also, this is the requirement to be implemented. We have 5 hours on this requirement. Then, as a guest, I want to change the dates of the reservation, also the next requirement, and so on and so on. So this is the list of the requirements. Yeah. Then the sprint goal. So this is basically a short statement of what the work will be focused on during the sprint. We define what we need to achieve, what we want to achieve. Yeah, as an example, database application. Okay. Make the application to run on SQL Server in addition to Oracle. Another goal can be support for life sciences, support features necessary for population and genetics studies. Also for financial services, there can be such goal that support more technical indicators than company ABC with real-time stream data. Different goals can be defined. And yeah, then we need how to manage the sprint backlog. Individuals sign up for work of their own choosing. The work is never assigned. So as I said, there can be such thing like the team members are asked to just grab the tickets. It's true, but again, in some cases, as I said, also some tickets are related to each other, and in some cases it is better to make it just like one person to work on all these tickets, an exact area. And sometimes it's also possible that multiple people work on the same area. It depends. It depends on the requirements here. And yeah, it said that work is never assigned, so no one can assign the ticket to you, item to you. You should do it by yourself. And then estimated work remaining is updated daily. So sometimes, of course, since we are the people, if we have such estimate like 3 hours, sometimes we need more hours, or sometimes we need less hours. It depends, and from this point of view, the estimation can be adjusted. But yeah, it is updated daily. So again, we go to Scrum, daily Scrum, and we make these updates. Then any team member can add, delete, or change the sprint backlog. It's also possible work for the sprint emerges. If work is unclear, define a sprint backlog item with a larger amount of time and break it down later. It is also possible if needed. And also update work remaining as more becomes known. It's also part of the planning. And so how the sprint backlog may look like, it may be planned day by day. So we give the estimates and hours split at each day. And as you can see right here, the main thing is, and this is basically what comes to in the next slide, is it's about sprint burnout chart. At the beginning we have the most work, so we start actively, we complete the major part of the work, and at the end we have less and less things to do. That is why, and this is what I said, if we notice that there are some issues where some or more time is needed, then it is more safe that we start actively at the beginning, and then we have some more time, some more free time to make the changes needed. So here we have such like say 3 hours to in case we have any issues, we need to work on any emergent issues. So this is like insurance for our project work. And so this is how it looks like. At the beginning we have most hours, and then it becoming less and less hours time by time. And then we go to such topic like scalability and scalability, and this is the thing when typically we have individual team in 7 to plus minus 2 people, and so then we talk about the scaling, and it comes from teams to teams, and the factors are, so first we have type of application, team size, team dispersion, and the project duration. So yeah, these are the things how do we need to think about scalability. And yeah, so basically the Scrum itself as the methodology is used in multiple 500 person projects, and yeah, as you can see we have a team of 7 to 2 people. It means that we usually divide these hundreds of persons in small teams, and yeah, this is what usually is done in such large projects, because again, as I said, if we have so many people, then we need to divide them in teams to organize all these teams and to make the work. And in this case, Scrum methodology is one of the best methodologies we have right now. And yeah, because if we have smaller projects, then we can escape all these planning things, because the planning all such large planning things, because as we know, as you can understand, that planning also takes some time for us, and that's why we if we have smaller projects with smaller amount of persons, number of persons, then maybe we don't need this Scrum methodology. But it is very useful if we have a lot of people who work on the project. And yeah, how basically scaling is done through the Scrums. There are the leads and the teams, different teams. Each team work on different requirements, on maybe different systems. If we have large project where there are multiple systems involved, sometimes as you can see you work on Java, some other people work on different languages, so the teams may be built based on the programming languages, based on the things where the corresponding programming language is involved, based on the processes, like if it's service, sales, and so on. So different teams may work on different directions. So the roles of the team, for the different teams, they can be the roles, and like one team work on one thing, on one particular area in the business, then another team work on different area, and so on. And yeah, then there's about Scrum of Scrums. If there are so many people in the project, then it is also possible that we can have the let's call sub-scrums of scrums. And if the project is too big, too large, and we need to apply the Scrum methodology even to the Scrum methodology itself. So we have one team, then we can have a sub-team, and we also need to apply all these things to maybe different teams under the teams. It's also possible, it's also needed. So yeah, and you can check the links here to see how the Scrum process looks like. You can check some reading lists from here. Yeah, there's copyright notice, and there's contact information for this presentation is built by. You can also contact. So from the presentation, that's it. Maybe I would like to mention about one thing. since we talk about Scrum methodology, maybe let me. There's such thing called Jira. Yeah, we will not. Maybe quickly. I can quickly show what does it looks like. But yeah, in the Scrum methodology, Jira itself is very useful tool, and it is used in Scrum methodology. So what it is? Basically, here we can. Moment, I think I need to quickly enter it. Okay, I'm in. Let me quickly enter it. Okay. So yeah, here we have the project. So okay, I think. Okay, let me select the project. Sign in. Let me quickly sign. Okay, and yeah, this is I used for previous group. But what's the idea? We have the project, and we have the tickets. We have the tickets. Basically, this is the log of the project And maybe let's create a new project. For example, generation. So yeah, here I select project. We have the key for the project. So I create project, and here we have the project, and we have the tickets. And as I just mentioned, we can represent the backlog here. So we have things to do. So maybe let's quickly check the backlog from here. I will use this backlog. I'll use this backlog, and so I have the tasks here. So this will be task. So the task is created. Then maybe let's create 2 tasks here. And so here we have the task. We can, and yeah, we usually have the statuses for the tasks. In this case, I have not configured the statuses, but it is normal thing that we have 3 statuses to do. It means that we have just this backlog. We can add some description. Description of the task. So we have the description, and here we can change the status of the current ticket. Yeah, first of all, I assign ticket for myself, and I put it in progress. So I do the things here. It goes to in progress, and I implement this task in the system. And once the task is done, I test it. So I can write the comment, successful tested. And also some attachments can be added here, maybe the unit test and so on, and I put it to done. So this is maybe the overall representation how the items in backlog are represented. So we have the items here, and usually we put them into to-do list. So this is the backlog. We have the items to do. Then each Then we have the team. Team members, I can configure team members here. Right here I can add other people to the project and team members, and then every team member can grab the item, we call them tickets, and to work on the ticket, then move to the corresponding status. Also, the configuration can be different here. I can usually have assign assignee, reporter. So this is the person who is responsible for the ticket. Also, I'm not sure why it's not available here. Due date. Priority also can be assigned due date. So if we means that this start date also and the one when the ticket to be started. So if we go here, we can see that we can add the due date. So if I select due date, means that this task needs to be done until tomorrow. We can change the priority that it has the highest priority, urgent priority, so it needs to be done until tomorrow. Start date, so for example me, I assign to myself, I start working on it, I point that I started today, and I put it in progress. Also we can configure that there are some other statuses like testing, testing, on hold, cancelled, and so on. Such things can also be done here. Also the linkages to our tickets, so we can select which tickets are the blockers for this particular ticket. Followed by duplicates and so on. Duplicates. There are so many features in Jira. Why I show you Jira? Because usually in Agile, you can see Agile board as we mentioned here. This is the way how the sprints are represented. And I have the project I used for a previous group. So there also are there are sprints. In this case 0 days are remaining. But also we have different sprints. We have the backlog, which is outside the sprint, and then in each sprint we select the items. They're located usually at the beginning. They're located in to-do list. Also the status can be different. We can change the sprint. And we move the tickets. And Jira is usually used in Scrum projects. It's a really nice feature, really nice tool. Recently, maybe I will explain experience. I will mention experience I had. I actually working on my own website with my colleague. He's not IT person at all, and he never used. Basically, he has never been involved in IT projects at all. So this is the first IT project for him. I'm building the website. He's mostly from the functional side, so he mostly explains the requirements to me, what needs to be done, and he was very satisfied with this methodology that we have the tickets, so he can define tasks, he can set the priority for the tasks, he can set the statuses for the tasks. So it's really nice tool. He's very satisfied. It is actually, we have such simple version, at least for me that's absolutely enough. It's for free. You can test it, check it yourself. You can use it, and it's really nice, really understandable feature, really understandable tool if you work on some tasks as an option. So it's a really nice feature. Starting, maybe right now, since we just finished this topic. So as I said I will explain what will be done during next 2 weeks. So right now we actually gone through all the topics which were planned, and it was planned that during the last 2 weeks there will be the project work. So what does it mean? You will need to split in pairs, and during next 2 weeks each pair will need to do the task, and there are in my scope there are 8 tasks. I will explain these tasks on Monday, but until Monday please split into pairs. So please send me the pairs with whom you want to work. If you cannot if you won't manage to do it until Monday, then maybe I will split randomly you in pairs. So if you are ready right now, then you can just tap it to me until Monday, or right now until Monday. So please do it, split in pairs. And on Monday I will discuss with you the requirements for the project, what you are supposed to do, and also I will split the tasks in between the pairs, between the teams, and and then you will start work on the project. There will be 2 weeks, and at the end of the course, there will be the presentation, where you will need to present. You don't know each other. That's maybe. Okay, I think that's maybe the issue, because previous group I worked with, they actually knew each other. Okay, so then maybe as I said, for those who can split in pairs, please do it. For those who can't, don't worry, I will just randomly split using randomizer. I will split you in pairs. But for those who can, so please do it. If at least some of you know each other, then you can do it. And for those who don't, then I will just randomly split you in pairs. So this way, and so this is about the project. I will explain the details, what you're supposed to do on Monday. Also, in addition, as I promised, most likely this will be also on Monday, we will talk about some additional topics. The first and the most important topic is the exceptions, so we will discuss it next week. And in addition, if you have so maybe I will create I will share the spreadsheet where you can write all the topics you want to discuss more. And if there are some things you want to repeat, maybe additional tasks, then please write them there and we will discuss them. I will create the spreadsheet and I will share the spreadsheet with you, so you can edit it and add the topics you want to discuss more. Okay, so do you have any questions? Okay, if not, then I think as I said, that we may finish a little bit earlier because basically everything is discussed about the and about the home tasks for today. As you remember, at least today for the home task about the collections, about the data structure. So I will check it hopefully this weekend. But yeah, we will also discuss it next week. And yeah, so this is it. So then for today, I think we can finish the session. I will send a spreadsheet with you, so please enter the things you want to discuss, and we'll do it next week. Okay, thank you for your attention today. Have a nice weekend, and see you on Monday. Bye.